Okay, so in today's session, we'll be looking into data distribution mechanism of Teradata and two important indexes in Teradata, that is primary index and secondary index. This data distribution is kind of a unique in Teradata itself. If you are coming from different databases background, then you will see the difference. Why we lay more emphasis on data distribution? Because right from this distribution part, parallelism in Teradata starts, and later when we want to retrieve the data, this parallel distribution will help us a lot to make our queries run much more faster. So let's start with this thing. Okay guys, we know that in our previous sessions we learned about AMP, what is AMP, and we know that each AMP stores a portion of the rows in each table. We also know that Teradata follows the shared nothing architecture, which means an AMP is responsible for the storage and retrieval of rows under its control. It will not share the access to its virtual disk to any other AMP. So let's understand it a bit more into depth with the help of this example. Suppose we have this employee table having three columns: employee ID, employee name, and department ID. And similarly, we have another table called as department. It has only two columns: department ID and department name. So how these two tables, in employee table we have 8 rows, in department tables we have 4 rows. Yeah. So how both these two tables will be distributed across AMP. Suppose we have 4 AMP system attached to our Teradata: AMP1, AMP2, AMP3 and AMP4. And we know that equal distribution is important in Teradata. So what exactly we mean by this equal distribution? As you can see in the diagram here, employee table having 8 rows will be split across these 4 AMPs, and each AMP contains only 2 of the rows of the employee table. So AMP1 contains row 1, 2, AMP2 contains row from 3, 4. Similarly, it goes on to all the AMPs. In our example, we have a 4 AMP system which is attached to Teradata system. Now similarly, department table is also equally distributed across all these 4 AMP. You can see each AMP is getting 1 row of the department table. So this is a logical representation of how tables and their rows are distributed across AMP. So if you pick any AMP, randomly pick any AMP from the Teradata system, that AMP contains the portion of the rows of each table. We cannot say that employee table will go into only AMP1 or into AMP2. It will be distributed across all the AMPs. So some portion of each of the table. Now this is again a checkpoint here, is that this thing again is a sunny day example, means it's an ideal case where we have chosen the correct primary index and data distribution is uniform. In some of the cases, because of bad choice of primary index, data distribution is not uniform. In that case, the number of rows assigned to each AMP might be differ. That causes a problem known as skewness. What is skewness? We will look into all these things into more details in the upcoming slides. As of now, we just need to keep in mind that this is how rows are distributed across each AMP.